And if you've ever experienced the power of silence, if you've learned to pause instead of react, to listen instead of argue, and to take control instead of being dragged along, then you're ready for the next lesson, deeper, freer, and more liberating. Episode 6. Not everything matters, and that's the freedom. Together, we'll take a hard look at a life filled with pressure, all the things we feel we have to fix, hold on to, and win at. And ask ourselves, do all of these things really deserve our attention? Join me on this journey of letting go, not because we're weak, but because we finally understand what's truly worth holding on to. Are you carrying too much? Are you caught up in things you can't actually control? Pause for a moment. Don't rush to answer. Just tune in to your body right now. Are your shoulders tense? Is there a weight on your chest? Is your mind spinning with thoughts like, why did they treat me like that? If that hadn't happened, I'd be so much further by now. Will work go smoothly next week? Will my child be successful in the future? The truth is, whether you're a parent, an employee, a manager, or someone between jobs, we all have something in common. We're carrying too much. Not just responsibilities, but also the weight of things we can't actually control. A silent spiral. Picture this. You're a mom. You wake up at 5:30 a.m., make breakfast, wake the kids, power through work, remember to email the teacher, pay the bills, clean the house, prep dinner, and review a presentation for tomorrow's meeting. Meanwhile, your mind is buzzing. What did my boss think about that report yesterday? Is Grandpa doing okay? I hope my daughter's not getting picked on at school. I should probably start yoga again, but I'm so tired. Do you see it? Even when you're doing nothing wrong, you still feel guilty, not enough, or anxious. You're living like you're supposed to control everything. And that's exactly why you never feel at ease. The problem isn't that you're not doing enough. We tend to blame ourselves. I'm not trying hard enough. I'm just not good at balancing everything. I'm too sensitive, that's why I feel so overwhelmed. But here's a better question. Am I trying to carry too much, including things that aren't even mine to carry? No one ever taught us this. There are things that are simply not ours to control. No one ever gave us permission to say, that's not mine to worry about anymore. The cost of carrying everything. The truth is, you can't change how someone thinks about you. You can't stop the rain tomorrow. You can't guarantee your child won't get hurt. You can't fix a messy, unfair, chaotic world. And yet, you're trying. And because of that, you lose sleep. You snap at people you love. You feel like you're always racing. And little by little, you lose your sense of who you are. A simple experiment. Try this right now. Take a piece of paper. Draw 2 columns. On the left, what I'm trying to control. On the right, What I can actually control. Example. What I'm trying to control, what I can control. What my coworkers think of me, how I show up and communicate in meetings. Whether my child will succeed, whether I'm present and loving. If my spouse will change how I express myself with honesty and care. The state of the economy, how I manage my own finances. In just a few minutes, you'll likely see you're spending precious energy on things way outside your reach. The Dichotomy of Control, a Stoic tool for inner peace. This timeless concept was introduced by Epictetus, a former slave in ancient Greece, who walked with a limp and yet became one of the most respected philosophers of his time. He said, "Some things are within our control. Some things are not. All suffering begins when we fail to tell the difference." Let that sink in. That single idea has the power to shift your entire life. It's a door. A way out of the cycle of anxiety, guilt, and helplessness. Where we're going today. In today's episode, we'll explore the story of a woman on the edge of burnout from trying to control everything. How she learned to separate what's hers to carry and what's not. And how you can do the same. Because you don't have to do it all. You don't have to keep everything from falling apart. You just have to learn how to let go at the right time. So you don't lose yourself trying to hold everything together. Part 1: The story. A single mom and the invisible battle. Her name was Sarah. 36 years old. Single mom. 2 young kids. Working 2 full-time jobs. By day, she was a receptionist at a local clinic. By night, she drove for a delivery app. There was a time when Sarah believed she'd be a writer. That dream now sat in a dusty old box somewhere in the basement. Quiet, forgotten. Instead, every day felt like a silent war. She didn't hate her life. But deep down, she always felt like she was failing. Not because she wasn't trying. But because no matter how hard she tried, it never felt like enough. She was trying to make sure her kids never felt the absence of their father. Keep the bills paid on time. Appear okay in front of her coworkers. Keep her mom from worrying. Never look weak. Never seem tired. She pushed through every day like the whole world depended on her. And then one night, her youngest asked, "Mom, did you get the snack you promised?" She had forgotten. And Sarah broke down in tears. Not because of the snack, but because it was the final drop. The one that overflowed a cup that had been full for way too long. That night, after tucking her kids in, she sat alone at the kitchen sink. It felt like something was pressing down on her chest. Even the air felt heavy. The pressure, like a low, constant hum in her head, didn't stop, even when she closed her eyes. Then, a text popped up. An old friend she hadn't heard from in ages. Just checking in. Sarah wasn't planning to reply, but something made her type a few words. "I'm overwhelmed." Her friend replied with a single line. I'm sending you something. It's small, but maybe it'll help. 2 days later, a package showed up at her doorstep. A book. The Daily Stoic 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living by Ryan Holiday. That night, she read the first page. It opened with a quote from Epictetus. We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. She read it again. And again. Then she closed the book and sat quietly in the dark. I'm not broken because I forgot the snack, she thought. I'm hurt because I judged myself as a bad mom for it. I'm not crumbling under the bills. I'm crumbling because I believe I have to carry them alone. For the first time in years, Sarah didn't try to fix how she felt. She just noticed it. No judgment. No denial. No more bracing against the tide. She wrote a single question in her notebook. What is mine to control, and what isn't? And in that moment, she realized. She had spent over a decade living as if everything was her responsibility. Even the things that never were. Her ex-husband's attitude. The way others looked at her. The unpredictability of the economy. Her loved one's health. Her coworkers' moods. The fairness or unfairness of the world. Sarah had believed. If I'm just good enough, everything will work out. But she never asked herself, am I trying to control things that aren't mine to hold? That invisible battle inside her wasn't with the world. It was with the illusion of control. And as soon as she started to see that, she felt just a little lighter. It wasn't a grand breakthrough. It didn't come with fireworks. It was just a quiet shift in the way she saw herself. A 36-year-old single mom who didn't need to hold it all together anymore. She just needed to exhale and know what's hers to carry and what's not. Part 2 Core Philosophy, the Dichotomy of Control. Let's start with a very simple, very human image. Picture yourself standing in front of a whiteboard. In your hand is a black marker. Your job? To sort everything in your life, your worries, responsibilities, hopes, and goals, into 2 columns. On the left, what I can control. On the right, what I can't control. Sounds easy, right? But if you actually sit down and do it, and I mean really do it, something surprising happens. That can't control column? It gets a lot longer than the other one. 3 times longer, maybe 4. And that is where the exhaustion begins. Remember Sarah, the single mom we met earlier? She was carrying the whole world on her shoulders. She tried to control her kids' thoughts, her boss's attitude, her ex-husband's behavior, her neighbors' opinions, her body image, the economy, the weather on picnic day, even the tone of a barista at her local coffee shop. A part of her was always in battle mode. Always bracing, always fighting. But here's the truth. She never won that battle. Because how can you win a fight against something you never had control over in the first place? In Stoic philosophy, there's a powerful concept called the dichotomy of control, the idea that life is divided into two types of things: the things we can control, and the things we cannot. This concept comes from the ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus, who, believe it or not, started life as a slave. But despite being physically confined, he became one of the freest thinkers in history. He said, "Some things are up to us, and some things are not. So, what's up to us? How we respond, how we think, the values we choose to live by, the effort we give, the words we speak, how we treat others and ourselves, whether we keep our promises, and what's not up to us. Results, the weather, what others think, feel, or say, illness, accidents, the news, being liked, accepted, or praised, the past, and the future." The moment you see this boundary clearly, something shifts. You become free. It sounds simple, but most of us live the opposite way. We lie awake at night obsessing over what someone might be thinking. We get mad because it rained on our only day off. We feel defeated because our heartfelt post didn't get enough likes. We beat ourselves up if our kids don't make the honor roll, even though we gave everything we had. The more we try to control what can't be controlled, the more we burn out. There's a story about a psychology professor who once did a small experiment in class. He handed each student 2 ping-pong balls. Then he gave them this challenge: throw both balls at the same time, and make sure they land in exactly the same spot. The class laughed. Nobody could do it. Because you can only aim one hand. You can try, you can get close, but you can't guarantee it. Life is like that. You can plan, you can prepare. But full control? That's an illusion. So what happens when you stop trying to control it all? Not give up, but refocus. You start putting your energy only where it truly belongs. That's what Sarah did. She started small. Every night, she drew 2 columns in her journal. What I can control, what I can't control. How I love my kids, their teacher's attitude. How hard I work, whether I get promoted. How I speak to my mom, what she thinks about me. What I eat today, other people's opinions. Just a few minutes a day, and she felt lighter. Not because the world changed, but because she stopped trying to control it. So let me ask you this. How much of your energy is spent trying to control things that were never yours to hold? 60%? 80%? All day? And then ask yourself, do you still have the strength left to care for what's truly yours? Take a deep breath. Now think of one thing, just one, that's been making you anxious, upset, or drained. Something you've been trying to fix, manage, or carry, even though Deep down, you know it's outside your control. Hold that thought in your mind. We're going to return to it in just a moment. Part 3: The Practice. The 2-column paper. Sarah sat on her old wooden kitchen chair, the one by the window where she usually had her morning coffee. Watched her kids play in the yard, and worried. But this morning was different. On the table sat a single sheet of paper, folded down the middle. A ballpoint pen. And a few scribbled lines. On the left, she'd written, "What I can control." On the right, "What I can't control." She didn't exactly know why she was doing this. Just that the night before, while reading the Daily Stoic, a single sentence had stopped her in her tracks. Freedom is the ability to decide what you will give your attention to. And something in her woke up. Left column, "What I can control." She started writing. How I teach my kids. How I speak to others. My bedtime. What I eat for breakfast. What words I choose to say, and which ones I choose to hold back. With each line, she felt just a little more grounded. These weren't grand, sweeping things. But they were hers, fully within her hands. Right column, "What I can't control." This column was harder at first. But then, it poured out. What my friends think of me. Whether my kid gets upset today. If my boss truly sees my efforts. Whether it rains this weekend. Whether my ex thinks of me or not. And the more she wrote, the more stunned she felt. Most of the things that had been draining her, for hours each day, belonged in the "not mine" column. A quietly life-changing question. Sarah looked at her list and asked herself, if I'm spending 80% of my energy worrying about things on the right side, what's left for the life that's actually mine? It hit her like a soft but undeniable wake-up call. All this time, she thought she was just being responsible. But really, she was carrying what didn't belong to her. The power of a single piece of paper. That morning, after she finished the list, Sarah felt like she had taken off a backpack full of rocks. Did this little exercise solve everything? No. Her kids still had tantrums. Her boss was still critical. Her bills didn't magically disappear. But this gave her something more valuable: clarity. Small changes, deep impact. From that day forward, Sarah began to shift. She stopped checking work emails after 9 p.m. Right-pointing arrow because she realized she couldn't control others' reactions anyway. Instead of trying to say the right thing to make her child behave. Right-pointing arrow, she focused on how she responded when her child melted down. She let go of keeping the house perfect. Right-pointing arrow, and spent more time playing with her kids, fully present. And when someone judged her, right-pointing arrow, she didn't spiral anymore. She mentally filed it away in the right-hand column. Freedom doesn't mean doing less, it means doing what's yours. Nothing changed dramatically on the outside. But inside, a door had opened. For Sarah, Freedom didn't mean not caring about anything. It meant finally knowing what's actually worth caring about. She wasn't letting go in defeat. She was still a busy mom, still working 2 jobs, still learning to love herself in the process. But now she had a map. 2 clear columns. And that made all the difference. Each day felt just a little lighter. Each step had a little more direction. Try this yourself, a simple, powerful practice. If you're watching this video, don't just listen. Try it. Grab a piece of paper. Draw 2 columns. Label them. What I can control, and what I can't control. Now, write down whatever's on your mind today, big or small. And don't be surprised if what you find isn't some giant revelation, but rather this: that your life has been quietly ruled, for a long time, by the "not mine" column. And starting today, you can begin to take the steering wheel back. Part 4: Letting go isn't losing. There's a quiet but stubborn belief many of us carry. If I let go, it means I've failed. Letting go means I'm weak, helpless, or irresponsible. Sarah used to believe that too. To her, letting go meant giving up. It meant quitting. It meant abandoning her duty. She was the kind of person who carried the whole world on her shoulders, thinking it was love, strength, responsibility. But one day, after a shouting match with her 8-year-old son, all over a pile of toys left on the floor, she collapsed onto the living room carpet and broke down in tears. Not because her son had done something wrong, but because she suddenly realized she was fighting the entire world, every single day. And it was too much. Letting go does not equal giving up. That night, Sarah wrote a simple sentence in her journal: "There are things I no longer need to control." Just one line. But it felt like a birth certificate for a new mindset. For the first time, she didn't feel ashamed of letting go. She felt lighter. A metaphor: the leaky grocery bag. Picture this. You're walking through a market, carrying a grocery bag. But the bag has a hole in the bottom. With every step, what you put in falls out little by little. You keep rushing around, trying to gather everything again, only to keep losing it. Until someone finally asks you, "Why don't you just drop the bag?" And you freeze. Because it never occurred to you that you could. Sarah had been carrying a leaky bag in her heart for years, trying to control her son's emotions, trying to earn respect from her ex, trying to appear flawless to her friends, trying to be the perfect mom, perfect employee, perfect woman. But the harder she tried, the more exhausted she became. And the more she drifted away from herself. Choosing the right battles. After doing the 2-column exercise, Sarah began to make different choices. She started keeping what was hers to carry. Checkmark how I listen to my child. Checkmark how I care for my body. Checkmark the words I choose to say. Checkmark the energy I bring home after work. And she began to release what was never hers. Multiply my boss's mood. Multiply whether my ex understands me. Multiply what people say behind my back. Multiply unspoken expectations from others. She called it a soul-saving strategy. A small but defining moment. That afternoon, her son once again refused to eat his vegetables. In the past, she would have argued, raised her voice, and demanded a serious talk. But this time, she smiled and said calmly, "I can't control what you eat, but I can try cooking something different next time." Her son looked at her, surprised. And Sarah felt free. Not because she gave up on her son, but because she gave up the expectation that she could make him change. Instead of just showing up, loving him, and being patient. Putting your energy where it belongs. When Sarah stopped pouring energy into what was out of her hands, she discovered she had more of it to give where it really mattered. Coffee with a friend, without guilt. Evenings spent reading, instead of working late. 10 quiet minutes of writing each morning, to organize her thoughts. Hugging her kids, without thinking about deadlines. She stopped trying to control life. And started guiding herself through it. And something beautiful happened. When she stopped trying to control people, her relationships got healthier. When she stopped trying to be perfect, people felt closer to her. When she felt lighter on the inside, the outside world seemed less heavy too. Letting go isn't surrender, it's conscious freedom. One of Sarah's favorite Stoic quotes became, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Epictetus. Sarah wasn't some perfect woman, but she had become a conscious one. Every morning now, when she looks in the mirror, she doesn't ask, "What do I need to fix today?" Instead, she asks, "Where will I invest my energy today, and what will I set down?" That's not giving up. That's choosing peace. That's living with intention. And for Sarah, that changed everything. Part 5. Freedom doesn't come from holding on, but from letting go. If you asked someone who has it all, fame, power, the dream house, a 7-figure bank account, where does happiness truly come from? Their answer might surprise you. From letting go, not from getting more. Stoicism doesn't teach you to be cold. It teaches you to be clear. Not to reject life, but to choose wisely what's worth living for. For thousands of years, Stoic thinkers like Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca agreed on one thing. True freedom doesn't come from possession. It comes from the power to release. The goal isn't to control the world, but to control yourself. You can spend hours trying to make someone think differently about you. But in the end, they'll think what they want. You can plan every minute of your day. And still, a single storm, a single text, a single loss, can change everything. So where can you place your feet, without being swept away? The Stoic answer is within yourself. In how you choose to see, how you choose to think, how you choose to feel, and how you choose to respond. Liberation doesn't come from winning over others, but from no longer being ruled by them. Let's return one last time to Sarah, the single mom we met earlier. She didn't reclaim power by forcing people to respect her. She didn't win by doing everything perfectly. She became free the moment she embraced a new mantra. I don't control this, and I don't need to. A final question to reflect on. What are you still carrying that you could simply set down? Maybe it's your parents' expectations, or resentment toward someone no longer in your life, or guilt over something you didn't do 10 years ago. Picture yourself boarding a small boat for a peaceful journey, but your backpack is filled with rocks. You're not getting anywhere. Not because the boat is broken, but because you're carrying what you don't need. Letting go isn't giving up. It's removing the weight so you can finally move forward. Try this simple practice right now. Grab a blank piece of paper. Draw a line down the middle. Label one side, what I can control, and the other, what I can't control. Then, be honest. Write it all out. Sometimes, just seeing it clearly is the beginning of freedom. Stoicism never promises life will be easy. It doesn't shield you from pain, or loss, or failure. But it does give you an internal compass. So when the storm hits, you still know who you are, and what truly matters. And at the end of it all, you can choose to live with this mindset. I don't control the outcome, but I control my effort. I don't control others, but I control my reaction. I don't control tomorrow, but I control how I show up today. A gentle prompt for you. Reflect and share. What are you trying to control that maybe it's time to release? Try the 2-column exercise. What I can control versus what I can't control. A small act that could quietly redirect your entire path. If this video felt like a breath of fresh air, hit like and subscribe so you don't miss the final episode of our Stoic journey. Peace isn't out there, it's how you choose to see everything.